Yeah. So hello, my name is Michael, and I'm from JetBrains, and also from stepic.org. So what is Stepic actually? It's another platform for programming assignments. It's oh, the thing doesn't work. Okay. So what is Stepic? Stepic is an online platform for education, and we're working on creating on learning programming through programming assignments. So I don't want to focus on why we build another platform, etc., but I want to focus on new ideas we're trying to bring into educational process. And our idea is adaptive learning. And our first try with this idea is we created a Python course, adaptive Python course. So let me short review what's it. So let's review how a regular online course works. It's like a straight line from 0 to 100. You're going from left to right. You're making some steps, learning new things. At some point, you get a certificate, etc. We all know that stuff. But adaptive course looks different. It's like a map. It's non-linear structure, and it depends on the way you are right now. So, by the way, that's a real picture of my road from Menlo Park I made today. So, yeah. Let me review it in the context of Python course. We all know that every user have different backgrounds, and if user decided to learn new programming language or new theme, he can be lost because, for example, if user have no knowledge about Python, about any programming language, he can be interested in something like this. If he is proficient with Python, with this Python syntax, he can be interested in different subjects, in different assignments. And if he is proficient, if he's interested in computer science, and other tasks. So if we can determine user knowledge and give him assignments for his level, it would have a great impact for him. But how can we do that? That's a two-main problem. Knowledge isn't a constant, it changes over time. And another problem is well-known Dunning-Kruger Effect. So while proficient programmers sometimes underestimate themselves, and novices sometimes behave opposite. So the problem is users sometimes can't officially understand his level of knowledge. So how things can work? And we think it can work while our platform trying to analyze every user submission, every task user tries to solve, and create adaptive course. And by analyzing a lot of user action, we can automatically give him a task with his level. So our goal here is to force a user to making small baby steps and learning the whole big thing of programming. So from user's perspective, it actually looks very simple. He have 2 extra buttons, so hard, so boring, and it will have an impact for his learning path. If user decided to solve it, he just writes a submission, submits it, waits for response, and receives a new task. Very simple. About this course, it has 300 different assignments, a lot of them. All assignments have logic, syntax, no frameworks, only plain Python course. But the key idea here that none of these assignments were manually reviewed. Assignments were reviewed by team, like, I don't know, iterators, main Python syntax, etc., but none of them were reviewed by its complexity. And complexity is calculated automatically by different users and the way how user interacts with our platform. So we analyze a lot of actions. These users solves this problem, etc., and calculated 2 main metrics, skill and uncertainty. And given these metrics, we can build personalized paths for every user. And the also great idea here is that this system adjusts after every event, so it improves over time himself. So reusability, didn't this looks like an abstract thing? And actually, yes. The way it's implemented on the Stepic backend, it's just one checkbox. If you click it, then Stepic will try to build personalized path for every user. So what's next? It actually, you name it. It can be used for bioinformatic teams, and other languages, and other frameworks, so anything. If you're interested, try to solve this course, send me an email, and etc. I'll open to discuss. Thank you.
Okay, Hello, everyone. My name is Chinmay Nivargi. I'm a program manager at Applied Materials. I'm also a data scientist there, so spend a lot of time thinking about measuring effectiveness of what we are doing. So tracking user behavior, analytics, and effectiveness down the line. So some of you may have, where do I point this? That's right. Okay. So for those of you who attended the AppliedX talk before this, we think of it as content, users, and platform, and it's a tight feedback loop. So I spend a lot of time with the content, but the users is something that I'm going to talk about today. So how do you effectively analyze the effectiveness of these courses? So to set some background, you can think of similarities and differences between university classes and enterprise POCs. And you see a lot of similarities, but a lot of key differences. I won't go into too much detail here. I'll blast through this, but essentially you need a different mindset and a different design sense when you think about these courses, because the purpose is completely different. If you think of the content for university classes is basically fundamental or foundation building. They are longer courses and have a much longer shelf life. The content does not become obsolete very quickly. But in enterprise POCs, especially for our use cases, we've seen that it focuses on techniques and methods. They are shorter courses with shorter shelf lives. And they need to be on demand as a result. A lot of different stakeholders, the key stakeholders for university classes, and by that I mean also the ones delivered online, so the entire MOOC revolution, if you will. The stakeholder is essentially the student. But in enterprise POCs, you have to justify the amount of time and resources you spend in making this content and really look at the effectiveness of it. So why do you measure effectiveness? If you think about that, in university classes, it essentially serves the purpose of credentialing for the student. And for the course evaluation, it's an improvement or a professor feedback, right? In enterprise POCs, you don't really care as much about credentialing. It's more of reinforcement of the content itself. And the course evaluation, again, is improvement or tailoring to what your business objectives are or what the objective of that particular course is. How do you do it? OK, so in university classes and POCs, the similarity is that it's quizzes and exams. That part is similar. And the course evaluations are also, there are course and surveys. But in university classes, there is no follow-up, right? While in enterprise POCs, there is a big reason to follow up. You need to make sure that the courses that you deliver are actually having the intended effect and they're aligned with objectives. So follow-ups are critical, and those can be achieved by things like surveys to the managers, peers, a few months down the line. So we think of it in terms of the TAPE methodology, and this is the only corporate jargon that I'll use. But it's training, adoption, proficiency, and effectiveness. So what are metrics of interest that we are looking at? And I'm happy to brainstorm with people here. This is the reason why we decided to spend some time doing this here. We look at immediate metrics, which everyone is very familiar with. These are enrollment completions, engagement during the class, surveys after the course for feedback. But there are adoption metrics that we are increasingly looking at now, which are kind of leading indicators of whether the courses are translating into product or process success down the line. So things like checklist, product milestones, which you can directly relate to the course content and change the course content if necessary. Then time for adoption, the actual application of the course content. So you need to really highlight the successes of whether the course had an intended effect on certain projects, certain people's workflows, things like that. Eventually, you want to correlate it to product and process successes. And causation of that is extremely difficult, as you might imagine. However, you can track a few things. Like, for example, some things that are quantifiable are things like delays or budget misses or team gaps. So say in a sales course or a marketing course, right, you can track these metrics and correlate it to a framework that you have established in the course. So things like that become really important when you track these metrics. And increasingly, we are, as an analyst myself, we are increasingly building targeted dashboards and analytics based on this content to measure how effective we are being. And why do we do this analysis and go through this framework? It's basically a starting point to develop features and products based on the Open edX instance that we have. So for example, employee management, we look at the stakeholders and create products that are products and platform features that enable us to track these things better. So thank you. And I would really like to brainstorm and talk to people about this and how they're doing it in their organizations.
Hey, everybody. I'm Eyal Sheli. I'm from Applied Materials as well. We are working on the same Applied X, Open edX implementation for Applied Materials. And I'll be talking a bit about the IT and infrastructure side. As you probably know, those that are working in big corporations, IP, intellectual property, security, legal in some organization is very crucial. And some of those courses that we are talking about here, as Chinmay said, are focused on engineering, on our technology, on the stuff that's really the core of our business. Going with edX, Open edX, and going with one of the cloud solutions were evaluated, and we decided eventually to go and do it by ourselves, because we thought the idea of protecting our IP is very important, and therefore we need an implementation that can support that. So our implementation is based on Open edX and Amazon Web Services. So our servers are hosted on EC2. And the videos, as we don't have currently an enterprise tube solution, we are using S3 as our video streaming. And then CloudFront is eventually allowing us to have a global implementation and people in China and India to have good performance for those videos. The content, as I said, is very focused on engineering, and therefore the security and legal aspects of that are very important. So yeah, there's a big conflict in general in Applied right now. So on the one side, you want to keep your IP very secured. Our competition is very hard. We have very few customers, which their IP is very important. On the other side of things, you want things to be more open. Us taking it to an open source environment and building stuff that's really unique. We didn't have any such solution before. Trying to be more innovative, trying to be a company that's more open and be able to work with each other is very important to eventually grow our business. And those two things are really contradicting, and therefore we had to build a solution that will be both allowing the innovation and on the other side be able to protect our IP. So our security requirements included video encryption. Of course, that only the content can only be accessible by our employee and no one outside the company. And then that only Applied devices. So it's very important also for us to make sure that even if an employee is going through other computer or something like that and try to access Applied network or Applied application, he cannot download anything or cannot put things on those devices because, again, that's an IP leak. So some of the challenges we had, of course, EC2 servers are hosted in Amazon. Therefore, we had to set up a VPC, a virtual private cloud. There was no existing solution to integrate with our SSO. So Open edX doesn't have any existing integration to our SSO provider. Video security. S3 is even more complicated than EC2. S3 is actually public, so you cannot have a VPC for S3. Therefore, we had to find another way to protect our videos, but still being able to leverage the CloudFront capabilities, which is distributing the videos in good performance over the world. And also from management of the server, management of the code, management of all of that, we had to use our box solution and therefore to implement it in order to manage, monitor, and control the servers. So that's what we build in terms of security. You can see that the users are actually authenticated to the edX, to Applied X, actually, that's sitting on Amazon using our authentication ping. Then, of course, everything goes through SSL. Then only when the person goes to Applied X and get to the page to take the video, we're actually generating a unique URL using CloudFront signed URL, which is, again, a solution coming from Amazon. We are generating through the code, so people are getting a unique URL that even if they pass it to someone else, he cannot use it. That way we are protecting the videos, which is our most important content. It goes, take the video from S3 or the edge location if it exists already there, and then just provide it to the user so he can see it in the best performance, and at the same time, everything is secured as supposed. Last thing, we'll talk about a few features that we would like eventually to have. So first of all, out-of-the-box integrations with some of the known enterprise SSO providers. I think that's really important for enterprises to be able to do that. One-click login, that's something we implemented. You know, everybody in the organization wants everything in one click, or at least even no click in terms of SSO. And then ability, we talked about it in the other session, ability to upload directly to S3, as everybody is kind of using S3 for streaming. Questions? If we have time.
Sorry if you said this, but what is your SSO provider?
Ping. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, great. Hey, everybody. My name is Nate Ani. I'm with AppSembler. We're a Open edX solutions provider. We work with a lot of companies. And a lot of those companies have been asking us about their e-learning content that they created in other tools, other desktop publishing tools. And they want to be able to export that content into SCORM. How many people here know what SCORM is? Great. For those of you who don't, SCORM stands for Shareable Content Object Reference Model. This was invented by the military, so they like acronyms. And basically, the shareable content object indicates that a SCORM is all about creating units of online training material that can be shared across different systems. So the SCORM defines how to create these shareable content objects, or SCOs as they're called, that can be reused across different systems and contexts. The reference model reflects that SCORM is not actually a standard. The ADL, which was the research organization that the military funded, they didn't actually write SCORM from the ground up. Instead, they noticed that the industry already had all these standards available, and so they basically just referenced these existing standards. So that's where the name comes from. Why does it still say loading? Uh-oh. OK, great. Whoa. OK. So why SCORM? Why would you want to use it? So you might have, as I said, you might have existing content that you want to reuse that you've created in other tools. You don't want to have to re-author that content for Open edX. You want to basically just move that stuff right into edX. These tools also give you very rich interactive capabilities that are more difficult to replicate in Open edX. And so those are some of the reasons why you might want to use SCORM. And these are some of the tools that you could use. Captivate, Storyline, Camtasia, these are all popular SCORM authoring tools. And all these tools, they give you like a file export option where you can choose SCORM as your destination file type. The problem is that people have not, up to this point, they haven't had a way of getting this content into Open edX. But now they can with the XBlock for SCORM. And I'm just going to give a quick demo of this. Does someone want to either hit the play button or switch to the MP4 file? Probably the MP4 is going to be safer on the network. OK. So it works like every other XBlock. You just create a new unit. You choose the Advanced tab. You select SCORM. And then you click on the Edit. And then here's where you get a dialog box where you can give it a name. You can give it a description. Here we're going to upload a climate change SCORM module, which is just a zip file. And then you can specify what player you want to use. Here we're using a player called SSLA player. You can choose if you want to have that be a pop-up window or an iframe. In this case, we're doing a pop-up. You can choose the width and the height of the pop-up. And then some additional parameters there for the player configuration. And then it saves it, it uploads it, and now right in your Open edX course, you now have that SCORM content appears. You can click on, well, now we have to publish it and view the live version. And now, as a student, I can click on Module 1, and it pops up that SCORM asset right in the browser, and I can start using it. When you're done going through the SCORM module, it is actually talking back to edX to report the scores. So that's one of the big benefits of SCORM is you can actually track the student activity. And we can talk more about that during the Q&A period. Okay, so we had goals for the authors and we had goals for the instructors. The goals for the author was we wanted to make it really easy to add these score modules through the interface. We didn't want to make someone go use some other tool. We want to basically do it all, have a native-like experience in Studio, uploading those as zip files, and also being able to assign a grade weight. I forgot to mention that. You can assign a grade weight. And we want to have a configurable backend, so they can either go to local storage or they can go up to S3. And then having the presentation be configurable, either an iframe or a pop-up. Goals for the student experience, we wanted to be able to present this content alongside other modules. I only have 25 seconds left, okay. Save the student scores. If they browse away, they can come back. And we wanted to be able to support navigation between different multiple SCOs. So these are some of the things we want to do next. Right now it's using a commercial player. We'd like to remove that dependency eventually and have an open source player. Automate the configuration of the front end, change some of the appearance, and then add some analytics. And then obviously we want to do a lot more testing with different types of SCOs to see how well they work. So we'd like to take this opportunity to invite other people to get involved. That can be beta testing the software to find bugs, suggest features. If you really need SCORM and edX and you have some money and want to sponsor the development, that's great too. And if you're a developer and want to help write the code, we'd love to collaborate with other people on that. And with that, I want to mention that we're going to be having a Birds of a Feather session right after this at 3 o'clock in room 294, where we can continue the conversation about SCORM. Any questions?
How far back does the support go?
What do you mean? So right now we targeted the 2000 spec, but you can, or sorry, 1.2, but you can add support for the 2004 spec as well.
And are you going to go forward with XAPI and CanCan or support all the
There's no plans for this XBlock to do XAPI. That would be a separate XBlock. I also forgot to mention, I wanted to just have a shout out to Raccoon Gang. Are they in the room? They're not here? OK, so they built the original SCORM XBlock on which we built this XBlock. So we added some additional functionality. And also to Brian Wilson, who's the developer who worked on this XBlock, and to the New York Institute of Finance, who helped fund these initial efforts. So I forgot to say thanks. OK, thank you.
Hello, folks. So this brings back memories. I was a faculty member at University of Michigan for 20 years, and it's really nice to get to do this again. So we'll see if I can keep it short. So extension engine, yeah, the faculty aren't real good at that. Extension engine, you heard that that's what we do. Custom learning experiences. Think about custom learning experiences. They're custom, they're for someone. They don't want us to share it. We're very proud of our user interface team. We're very proud of the learner experience design team, but we can't really generally show the work. So what we did was we turned them loose and said, design a site for us. Okay? So that's what this is going to be about. When we do a custom learning experience, we do all sorts of different things for the, or potentially for the client. Add features that aren't built into OpenEdX. Could be a different interface tool, and I'll show you one of those in just a minute. Change the look and the feel beyond what is sort of done just by simple theming. Add adaptive learning. We've done that before by sort of screwing Newton into the back end. Implement a new pedagogy. We did that for MIT recently. And connect it to the existing technology stack. We don't just sort of say, here's the course, good luck. So what I'm going to do now is talk you through a movie I made showing this new site that we just finished this morning. So actually finished would be a sort of a really overstepping bounds. So the design here is for our use. If you think it's ugly, remember we wouldn't do it for you if you're paying us, right? So just because you don't like it doesn't mean that we would have done it for you because we liked it. We do what our client likes. If it was for you, it would look different, act different, and be organized differently. So it's meant to demonstrate the kinds of things that we do. So here, this is the home page for the site. Search is a big thing on this site. You want to be able to search through the courses. There's the course we developed for Johnson & Johnson, and then Rise of the Superheroes. I've mentioned that before, and I will do it again. We created that for Smithsonian. And the class we're going to go through today, which is working with wireframes. Going to go there. Now there's this big graphic, sort of draws you in. The point of this is to sell the course to whomever isn't enrolled yet. So it tells about what the course is about, what it looks, what the objectives are, who's teaching it. You see the big green buttons, signing in, enrolling. So that's the point of this page, right? We made sure that the point is really obvious. I need to sign in. So I'm going to sign in. Simple little login form comes up. I enter my information. Now, my enrolled courses. Shockingly, guess what's there? Superheroes, as well as this wireframe course. Now, the interesting stuff is on the recommended column over there at the side. That would be where we'd hook it into your HR system or your student information system. It might be the classes that they need to take for their certificate or for their major or because their performance review was bad, whatever it might be. Okay, so here's the basic landing page for the course. Again, it's fairly straightforward there. The interesting stuff is here. Notice that down the side here is a many sub-levelable, what's that word? Okay, so you can have as many sub-levels as you want in the menu system. We got rid of the menu across the top, that little drag bar. That sort of drove me crazy. I do not like that thing. I'm sorry, edX people everywhere. So we integrated that here. So you don't have anything up top. You can have as many sub-levels as you want here. And then this is your basic course content here. Now this is where we have a X block that we developed for dragging and dropping from a set of options to however many boxes that you want. This is 4, it could be 2, it could be 8, it could be whatever. This is either tied into a grading system or not tied into a grading system. If it is, it doesn't give you any hints. If it's not tied into the grading system, then it can give you hints. And it'll tell you when you've made a wrong choice, it'll tell you when it made a right choice, etc. And we just created this just sort of for the heck of it. So that's it. The idea here is that, again, these are the kinds of things that we do. It's not just a standard edX instance that we happen to charge a bunch of money for. We actually try to do a bunch of work and provide value for the people who are actually our customers. So now, your to-dos. Come by, talk to either me or Bob, our founder, at my table. I would love to talk to you about your courses, what projects you have. Give me your card if you want me to follow up. Tomorrow at 4 o'clock, Jared is, he's our head ID person, giving a talk on blended project-based learning. Gives you an example of what we actually did for someone. And that's my email, scott@extension-engine. That's it. Okay.
Hurt my knee this morning, not going to work. Hey, font's a little small up there. I'm Doug Foster. I'm from InterSystems, so we're the world's most unknown large database company. Best to think of us as the Intel inside of really big database applications. That's not the one that I want. There we go. So really, our primary focus is training our customers and partners. So we make money. So our business model is not to charge for courses. If I can get an implementation partner to build an application using our technology, we make 100 times more money than I ever would charging for a course. If internal people learn through this, that's gravy. So that's really my remit. So our focus is smaller courses. So we're much more, I don't even want to say Spock size. So 2 hours and under with a lot of 5-minute segments. So again, people have a problem, they want to learn one thing, how do they get to that? And one of our other big goals is we already had a huge amount of existing legacy content. So we've got some SCORM content. We had existing videos on a video portal. I had 14,000 pages of documentation that we could reference, but a lot of it's really good. You just can't find it. Articles, white papers, and then a developer community, another social site that we needed to link to. So really one of my remits was to look at this and say, how do we make learning incorporate all of that plus Open edX? So what we did is really build out a learning stack. So we said, well, we've got to be able to combine all of these tools. So we use a combination of SSO and LTI and some bubblegum and glue. And we connect up Open edX courses. We use Docker containers to do virtual labs so people can launch a cloud-based version of our tool and actually use it, so we can preload exercises. We can preload data that they need to search for, build SQL queries to find. We're building they call it IDEL. So we actually, when people type in code, we use WebSockets to interrupt what they're sending to and from this environment, so we can tell whether they're doing it right or whether they get the right answer and give them feedback. And then we use Totara, which is Moodle for corporate world, and that's how we build learning pathways. So I can have people log in. Our Totara knows you're a customer, you get this content, what type of customer you are. Some of our content is free to the world. Some is free if you already paid us, so you get access to your content. Implementation partners get special content on the back end. So all of those things we kind of have integrated into one big learning stack where you can click and go from one to the other without logging back in. Some of that is still a little bubblegum and glue. It's getting better. So we use LTI and SSO for that. We also, using our own tools, so we have an integration engine. We get big feeds of data from edX at night, process that so we can combine it with data from our HR system and from our customer system. So again, we know who you are, whether you're internal, external, what you should have access to. And we have a tool called DeepC, which is just an analytics tool. So we have a dashboard that pops up and gets updated overnight with all of that. So again, a lot of data getting passed around to try to share all of that, but really trying to integrate it. We also suffer from, as a corporate, my VP, shiny object syndrome. So my expectation is next month he'll come back to me with some new thing he saw at a conference and say, integrate this in. So we've tried to build a tool set that can do that. So next steps for us, we're involved in the adaptive learning group. So there is a small work group that's working on adaptive learning and how we build it into Open edX. So if you're interested, let me know. We're building more interactive videos into our tools. And then kind of like AppliedX, how do we get our SMEs to develop more of the content themselves rather than us developing it? And then I'm down to 4 seconds, so my email is up there, doug.foster@intersystems, and we're done.